I've put on my palette, I've got mud brown again, and I've got a bit of blood red. And I've mixed up this sort of orangey brown sort of colour, just to sort of bit of trial and error here to see what this colour's going to look like. I'm going to continue lightening it with the red. But I want this sort of, more sort of quite earthy tones. I don't want anything too saturated. I don't want to make him look like he's just come out of the disco. Again, we're just looking to get some mid-tone in here. And so we're using the underlying colour as our base tone again. We'll do the rest of that off camera. Alright then guys, so there's all the browny orangey mid-tone. I'm not going to blend that too much, to be honest with you. I think it's okay. I want it to look a bit rough. So I've added a little bit more of the red and a little bit of yellow now. So I'm not sure if it's going to be bright enough. But we're now going to go around and just add some little small highlights. To this orangey brown sort of black. And because there's already quite a bit of contrast in there with the underpainting, we don't need a lot in terms of highlights here, just a little, and it is cloth, so we don't want this to be like shiny and we just want a few little highlights. Alright, we'll finish the rest off cam. Okay guys, and for the last highlight, just a few little touches. I've just added a little tiny bit of pale white. Don't want to make these too glaringly bright, but just a couple of places. But you just want to emphasise a little bit. Right, we'll finish that up off cam. Okay, so we're going to do some more of the materials now. And I've got this intermediate green, so I want this tone to be more of like a muddy, dirty green. And I've got this really cool king purple here. So I mix that up together and it makes quite a sort of grubby looking, muddy sort of green. And what I want to try and do again is we're going to use the layers that are already there. And we're going to sort of add this sort of, I'm try and add some sort of line and texture stuff to this as well. It's going to be like hyper smooth with this. Obviously don't want it to look too messy, but we want to make it sort of look quite sort of realistic. It's quite sort of earthy. Bandage thing, something right through the middle of these trousers, so we've got a point around them. It's creating this fold. And where the bandage is intersected. Right, we'll do the rest off camera. Okay then, so I've added a little bit more, or quite a bit more of the intermediate green now. Now we're just going to try and paint the highlights on this cloth bar. It might be a bit of a jump, but I definitely want the green to show through here. Because as you can see, our colour scheme is definitely heading towards orange, purple and green. Those are the sort of tones I'm trying to push on this model, but not in a bright, gaudy way. Definitely want to use them mixed in with browns and earthy colours. It's like the first tone we used here, you know, mixing the purple, which is quite a high saturated purple, with this intermediate green, gave us this really nice muddy, earthy green. So we're going to end up with a really nice sort of brightish green here, but it's quite desaturated. But in terms of value, it's getting to a nice highish value, which is good for highlighting. I think it will work really nicely with this purple tone we have, the orangey tone we have already. Right, we'll do the rest of that off camera. Right, so for this last highlight, I'm just going for pure intermediate green. And we're just going to paint a couple of little areas where the light will really catch. Now this is a really nice green. One of my favourite greens. Got quite a bit of sort of pale yellow or white in it. That's really all we want to do, just create these couple of little bright spots, and then we're going to blend it in with a bit of glazing afterwards. We'll do the rest off cam. Alright, so for the last step, I've mixed up a very thin glaze, there it is, of this intermediate green. And we're literally just going to go over it a few times all over. And this will just help to blend a few of those scrappy bits in. I don't want to get rid of all of them actually, I quite like the little liney look on some of this cloth like I did on the orange. Just makes it look a little bit more worn and used. You just want to sort of bring those colours a little bit closer together. So the dark sort of purple brown colour underneath with the green, so just sort of homogenise it a bit. But not completely. This is sort of really just adding a little smoothing layer over. This can do glazing over any object, does a lot of really cool things. When you see models in the flesh, a lot of them have this very much like a porcelain, very smooth look, as if there's no paint on the model at all, it's coloured. And this is mainly created by multiple glazes, which smooth everything out. Just with a couple of passes of a really thin down glaze, you can get a really nice finish on your models. And I know that the temptation is to make it thicker so you get more coverage, but honestly the thinner the better. When you're just smoothing like this, the thinner this glaze is, actually the better it works. It just takes more passes and you will get a much smoother finish with these very thin glazes and layers of paint. So we're going to paint some of these other sort of clothy, stitched together parts. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use two different browns, but hopefully try and give them a little bit of a different tone. So the one quite sort of lightish, and one sort of a bit darker maybe. But just trying to create some difference in them, make them quite sort of rough and beaten, and some texture in there, which we can do with very light paint. almost, we can almost sticky glaze a lot of it, but we're not. So we're doing lines and dots, just trying to create a little bit of a patchy, worn sort of look. Okay guys, to do the highlights on this sort of clothy, leathery, it's not really leather, more like a clothy stuff, I'm going to unify both parts by using sunny skin tone. So this is obviously the lighter one. So we're just going to add a little touch of that in there. And we're much more of a sort of khaki, sort of parchmenty browny sort of colour. We're just going to use that for the highlights. Then we're going to paint the other side in a darker brownish colour, but we will be trying to use the same sort of highlighting colours, so we get a sense of colour harmony and unity. Right, I'll do the rest I can. Okay, for the other half of this patchwork stuff, we're going to start this time with burnt umber, which is going to be a lot darker. So this is going to give us quite a contrasting sort of difference to the two highlights. And this burnt umber is not quite as orangey as the dark brown. So we'll get a very different sort of tone here, hopefully. Alright, we'll do the rest I can. So just as like last time, we've added in a little bit of sunny skin tone, just to add the highlights to this part of these clothy colours. Right, the last step for these piece of cloth is I'm going to glaze them all with brick red. So there is this sort of orangey tone in there, but I'm trying to find a middle tone to just smooth them out a bit and add just that little nuance of colour. And I'm actually going to go over both of these at the same time. So it's very, very thin. And I'll just do that bit of smoothing for us. And just add this other slightly different tone. which will work very nicely with the green that we've got.